Today, I'm so excited. We got Bob Sturm from The Athletic, from The Ticket, and a Dallas radio, a legend. So I'm excited for today. We're going to talk about the Mavs, the offseason, Jaden Hardy, a recent interview you did with Jaden Hardy, and much more on today's Locked On Mavs.
Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
The Dallas Mavericks are NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Welcome to Locked On Mavs. This is one of your co-hosts, Isaac Harris of Locked On Mavs and Mavs.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Leave a comment below on YouTube. And today I have a question for you guys to leave in YouTube. Bob here, rumors have told me that Bob has a tattoo of a sports franchise on his shoulder. So if you could take a guess in the YouTube comments below, what sports franchise does Bob have a logo tattooed on his arm? Is it his arm, shoulder?
Shoulder, yeah.
Shoulder? Okay.
Yeah.
Rumors are just Woj reported it, so I just want to throw it out there. But leave a comment below taking a guess. But today, it's a cool day for me because I have admired Bob from afar for a while. I've never got to meet Bob in person, but he is a co-host of a show on The Ticket from 3 to 7. He is a big Bucks fan. Went to the finals to watch the Bucks, and you've been to the finals when the Mavs won the title and everything. And you also cover the Cowboys. I'd say that people know you more about Cowboys for The Athletic and all of that.
Probably.
But today, Bob Sturm, thank you for hopping on. Appreciate it.
Hey man, it's great to finally get with you. I certainly enjoy your work, and it's fun to get together here in the off season and chop it up a little bit.
Not too long ago, you had Jaden Hardy on. I guess it was last week, and I was listening to that the other day, and there were a couple like takeaways from it. I learned a few things from it too. I didn't know Jaden Hardy's like relationship with Christian Wood. And could you share a little bit more about that, of like what he said on that show?
Yeah, basically, so Jaden's big brother went to UNLV, I guess, and that's where Christian Wood was going to school as well. So I guess it's not infrequent for those Las Vegas guys to get together and get in some runs, probably in the off season, I imagine. And that's how him and Wood have known each other. So it's pretty clear already that that there was a relationship there prior to both getting with the Mavs. And I know Christian was fired up when the Mavs made the pick. So I didn't totally know Jaden's path, because kind of seems like he's been everywhere.
Yeah.
Detroit, Vegas, now California with the G League Ignite, and now back to Dallas. So he gets around for a guy who is literally one day younger than my oldest daughter, which is pretty crazy. They had birthdays on back-to-back days. They both turned 20, which definitely makes me feel even older than I already do. And he just seems like a good kid, funny laugh, irrational confidence type guy, which maybe it's rational if he's as talented as everybody says he is. So, I love the pick. I was fired up. When that name started sliding, I was right there with everybody saying, let's get back into the second round and make a move.
Yeah, of course, Nico and the guys have talked about where they had him on his draft board. Hey, when we were at 26, we were targeting him there at the end of the first round, and obviously they gave up that pick for Christian Wood, and
Right.
but then the move back. I thought something interesting about y'all's interview with him is you asked him, one of you asked him about his pre-draft relationship kind of with the Mavs, and he was like, not much really.
Yeah. Once they traded the pick, it didn't seem like there was a lot of point to it, and so they there wasn't much of any. So the Mavs were opportunistic. I really like what I've seen in this year, and I know I probably am more optimistic than your average fan, and especially your average media guy when it comes to the new regime or just general, I've been in this business now a long time. I can now safely be one of those guys that says I've been in this business a long time, like that means anything. But it's like 3 decades now. And so you can kind of see the patterns over 3 decades of what works, what doesn't work, what keeps you engaged, and one of the things that keeps me engaged, and I guess this might be a crime to some, but I like being optimistic. I like the cup being half full. Sports are fun, and so the Twitter vibe in the Mavs and yes, the Cowboys world, and heck, the Stars and Rangers too. With all the teams, the Twitter vibe is everything sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't roll that way. Maybe I should because I'm in the media, so we're supposed to be the most cynical of them all. But I generally love waking up every day thinking that my teams are not run by incompetent morons. I like to think that they're here for a reason. They know more than we do, and there's a plan in place, and certainly there's a plan that requires a lot of alterations because other teams have plans too. But I kind of like this new vibe. I kind of like where they're headed. I obviously don't like losing Jalen, and I don't mean to get ahead of ourselves here, but I would just say overall that the Jaden Hardy pick in particular kind of represents what this new regime is doing, which is trying slowly but surely to upgrade piece by piece and to go looking for high upside guys, and that's fun for me. That's refreshing. We can even say the American basketball star is being pursued by this regime, where the American basketball star may have not been a high priority for the last regime, and so I like all these things.
You can listen to their interview with Jaden Hardy on the Hardline. I think you have a podcast feed for it.
Yeah, probably somewhere. If you look hard enough, you'll find it.
Yeah, you can listen to that interview. It's like 12, 13 minutes long. Obviously, you can listen to the show 3 to 7.
He's got a good laugh.
Yeah, he seems like a really good, really cool kid. Let's take a quick break and then we'll come back. I need to ask you a little bit more about the offseason and your takeaways so far.
Sure.
This pod is brought to you by our best friends, Built Bar. I literally just got a package in the mail the other day that Built Bar sent me and is like, hey, we have a new flavor. Try it out. From the people who invented healthy and tasty comes the latest gift to your taste buds. You've probably tried the amazing coconut brownie chunk Built Bar. If you haven't tried it, you need to try it. But guess what? Your friends at Built have given coconut brownie chunk the Puffs treatment as well. That's right. Coconut brownie chunk Built Bar flavor you love in a deliciously, what a word, chewy marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate. This fluffy cloud of coconut brownie goodness. But stop drooling right now and listen. They're good for you. Low calorie, low sugar, high protein, all delicious. All Built Bars are made with collagen protein with your body absorbs more efficiently and provides tons of health benefits. Eat something that tastes good and is good for you. The best part about Built Puffs is, of course, they taste amazing. Delicious coconut rich sweet brownie, creamy marshmallow. Stop fascinating. Stop fantasizing right now. Even Bryce at Locked On Rangers loves Built Bar. Go to built.com to order your box. Built.com, promo code LOCKED15. Get 15% off your order. Promo code LOCKED15. Okay, so the Mavs start the offseason. They make the trade. It's honestly, it was before it even kind of started. They make the trade for Christian Wood. You're like, all right, you kind of just traded 4 guys who didn't play, gave a first round, the end of the first round pick basically, and for Christian Wood, a swing at Christian Wood. And they move into the draft to get Hardy. They lose Brunson, then sign JaVale. It's been, for Mavs fans, it's been kind of like a little roller coaster. Like, oh man, it's starting off great, and then the Brunson, stab in the back, it feels like, for a lot of fans. Just general open thoughts on this offseason so far.
Well, I don't like losing Jalen Brunson. Brunson's a stud. He's the type of player we all love, or at least I love. High IQ, high basketball IQ, and kind of a lion heart, kind of a dude who will fight you in his last breath, he's still fighting, and I love dudes like that. I was a very early adopter of Brunson. If you do a Twitter search, you can find, me arguing with people about Brunson versus Dennis Smith. And and there was a time, by the way, where people thought Dennis Smith was a way better bet than Jalen Brunson. And it took me about, I don't know, 10 games in his rookie season to see that this dude can do things that Dennis Smith can't dream of doing as an NBA point guard. There's so much more than your vertical leap and your YouTube dunk tape that matters when you're running an NBA team. And there's just so much that's between the ears, and Brunson has all that. So I say all that, Isaac, to say that part sucks, no doubt about it. But I did have thoughts throughout the playoffs that I have massive concerns about Brunson and Doncic in the same backcourt long term, being able to win a title together. Now, there's so many pieces to that, including who the opponents are, including what your front court looks like, and there's I don't mean to get lost in that conversation, but at the end of the proverbial day, you have two below average defenders in the backcourt in a league where that's hard to work around. You can have one, maybe. You probably can't have two. We can argue how good Doncic is defensively, but I do think he remains a target for a lot of playoff caliber teams. And I think Brunson at 6'1" is going to be attacked, regularly as well. So I don't know that I love it. I also didn't know that I had a better idea on hand. And so that's kind of, how we all work through these things. And so once the price got to, 80 million for 20 a year, you start to be like, are we marrying ourselves to this thing the whole time? And I walked away from that saying, at the end of the proverbial day, I keep him, and I probably keep him at any price because he becomes a trade asset that I don't want to lose for nothing. The problem with that, though, and what I don't hear any Mavs fans talking about is if you keep him and you are thinking like I'm thinking, that I want to keep him partly not because I'm positive it's going to work, but partly because I want to have somebody to flip. Well, he gets that vibe, and he knows he's got the Knicks over here and the Mavs over here, and these are my buddies, and this is my home, and blah, blah. But here's the thing people don't talk about. If he goes to the Knicks, he knows he's going to be a New York Knick for probably every part of that contract.
Yeah.
If he goes to the Mavs, he knows that within one season, one and done playoff series next spring, he will be the first guy dangled out there to try to change this roster over. And I don't think people talked about that enough. And I was just saying, okay, if I'm Jalen Brunson, let me have an honest conversation with myself about the pros and cons of going to New York versus staying with the Mavericks. And I think that's it. If you go to New York, at some point they might turn on you, but they moved heaven and earth to get you. So they're going to look everywhere else besides you when things go wrong. And by the way, for the Knicks, the bar's very low. Make the playoffs, and you're probably, the prince for a while. Boy, with the Mavericks, I just think that Jalen Brunson would be an obvious target in the spring of 2023. So that was there for me. To get Hardaway back, and I have to kind of include that moving forward. It's not really part of the offseason, but it is part of the roster that wasn't available for Phoenix and Golden State and Utah. Hardaway back, McGee, Wood, for Brunson, in a vacuum, and of course you can't do that, but in a vacuum, if you say 3 for 1 or even put those other pieces that you lost, I think this is a better basketball team. Now there's questions to be answered, but I'm telling you, there's another deal out there. This roster doesn't make enough sense right now, and they're going to make another move, but they probably don't know what that move is. And here's the thing, that move could be in December. That move could be in August. That move could be in February. So I think we got to hold our horses and understand, as anxious as we all are, this thing, they didn't forget. They're not all on a beach right now forgetting about this roster. They're working at it, and I have to believe, as aggressive as they've been, that they're certainly not done.
Especially after the Dragic stuff happened. I was like, how they, how they kind of, talked about the Dragic thing. It was like, hey, you're not going to really have a bigger role. It's like, all right, you got to have something else in the bag. If,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Dragic is, an all-star or anything, but there was at least a clear defined role for him off the bench. I thought from my angle, so I was
Yeah.
like, all right, if they're telling him he's not going to be, have a big role, they must have something else that they're shooting for right now.
Probably, and I think they went into the offseason under the premise that if somehow we lose Brunson, Dragic cannot be our solution to that. I think that speaks highly of Nico and Kid being trying to give an honest evaluation of a guy that they certainly like. I mean, like they really want Dragic as part of this, but they didn't want him as a real heavy lifter.
Yeah.
And I appreciate them being honest with him, because it would have been very easy to show desperation and say, well, we got to have somebody. Okay, Luka likes him. Let's do this, man. I I don't I don't want to live to regret this. So I should soft pedal it a little bit. But what I've seen of Goran Dragic the last 2 seasons has been extremely spare, and I would argue that
It's the sound of our Slovenia listeners typing on their keyboard right now on YouTube.
yeah, and I get it, and that's fine. And look, we all have favorites. We all want our heroes to never get old. I wanted Tiger to win this past weekend, so I totally get it. But there comes a point where you're the guy you used to be, and you're a facsimile of that. And I think it's super important for a front office to know the difference, and for them, according to Dragic, for them to basically say, "Look, man, you're here in this role, but you're not here in that role." That gave me a lot of hope that the new front office sees a little more clearly on these matters than the old front office. Not to dump on them all the time, but
Yeah.
but I think that we're going to see if they know what they're doing in terms of building a champion. But all of the early indicators of what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, they're definitely not into throwing bad gambles against the wall. Heck, they weren't willing to sign Jalen Brunson last summer, and I sort of respect the idea that let's see it, buddy. We believe in you. Now let's see you do it. Now it burned them. So hindsight's 2020. But if they would have signed him to even 60 million last August, I think a lot of us would have wanted them all drug tested, right?
Yeah, because he hadn't. I mean, it was after the Clippers series.
Yeah.
And we saw him get played off the floor and taken advantage of in those lineups and stuff. And obviously, he had a career year this past year. So, okay, you watched the Bucks close it out 2 years ago. You watched the Mavs win their title in Miami. With this Mavs team, what would you say is the biggest thing that they need to get back to the finals?
Wow. I think in both cases, when you see a title, you just see how many guys need to contribute. I think there's a lot of special players in this league, and Luka's definitely one of the 5 best. Where he is in that hierarchy, we can debate, but Luka's a special player. Giannis is a special player. Dirk was a legend. So we're talking about 3 guys of somewhat similar quality. Around Dirk, to just go down the list, it's such a special group. And when you talk about Sean Marion, sometimes even gets lost in the conversations because people remember Tyson, people remember Jason Terry, people even remember Jason Kidd. And you're like, you telling me Sean Marion is like the 5th guy you mentioned when you talk about that Mavericks championship team? That's insane. He was guarding Kobe and Durant and LeBron and just, Sean Marion is as vital to that title as almost anybody on the roster, and yet he was on such a ensemble cast of special players at that perfect time of their careers he almost gets overlooked in history by some, just because, I guess we want, the big three or the big four or whatever just to talk about. And I consider the 2011 playoff run as a fairy tale that honestly Luka could run off 3 in 5 years, and I'm not sure any one of those championships will feel like 2011 to me. Now it will feel special. Don't get me wrong. Being at the Pfizer Forum last year when Giannis broke off a 50 piece in Game 6 was a special moment. But that 2011 playoff run, from the moment I took Portland in 6 before the series before the playoffs started, till the time I was holding the Larry O'Brien trophy in the bowels of the American Airlines Arena in Miami. That 60 days where I was just exhausted and I had not even played a second. I'm telling you, there is a Miracle on Ice, Lake Placid 1980 quality to that entire narrative. I mean, it was just, and I guess it started, 12 years before when we started the Dirk story, and it was just, man, can this guy ever do it? And I'm on the radio in Dallas and people want to trade him for the bones of Shaquille O'Neal, or just just all the times that Dirk failed. I was there in 2006 at those finals as well, so I'm definitely not the good luck charm. I tried twice, like everybody else, but there's just so much special quality and once in a lifetime moments of that 2011 finals run. But the thing I love most, and I've quoted this and I put it on Twitter, and I'm about to butcher something that I quoted, but I love this stat, and I don't think it will ever be broken, is that the Mavs were they set the record for having a roster of guys without a ring. So they had the most seasons in NBA history of a ringless roster that became champions.
Wow.
Okay, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
I want to say the stat was something like, I don't know, 105 combined seasons. Okay, so all these guys are late in their career. All of them. There's like Corey Brewer was the only kid, almost nobody.
Yeah.
I guess Bobois technically probably got a ring, but the whole roster is these 12-year veterans, 15-year veterans, 10-year, Brian Cardinal and Peja and just all these guys. And if you add up their seasons, it blew away. I think the Pistons of like 89 were the previous leaders, and they had like half as many seasons of ringless basketball. So not a single ring on that roster. And for them to come together as champions like they did, I mean, I'm sitting there watching it happen, Isaac, and I don't know when it occurred to me. It might have been the flu game for Dirk. But I just said, you know what? I've been writing. So I had a Mavericks blog at the Dallas Morning News, or I guess I had just a blog. And so in Cowboy season, I'd write Cowboys, but I would also do Mavericks and Star stuff. So I started documenting that Mavericks playoff run with Game 1 against Portland. And so now I have 60 days of words about every, game and every incident along the way of the playoff run. And I sat there after Game 4 and I'm like, I've always had this bucket list. I want to run a marathon. I want to, I don't know, climb a mountain, whatever's on anyone's bucket list. But I always said, someday I want to write a book. Now, I have no idea what the book is going to be about, and I don't even care if anyone reads it. But I just want to be able to say, on that porch when I'm 1,000 years old, that I did actually do what I wanted to do, which is write a book. Journalism major, blah blah blah, and it was at that moment, like after Game 4, I think, that I just said, dude, if they can find 2 more wins, and I don't see how they can, but if they can get this over the finish line, I've got to write that book. Now, I did. I have 2 copies on my shelf. I don't know if I had, a week, if I could find a 3rd copy out there, because they hardly made any of them. So I don't know that anyone really read them, and I certainly didn't make hardly any money writing it. But I'm so happy I did, because that is a true sports fairy tale, and that's what it's all about, right?
That's so cool. That's so cool. All right, we're
Yeah.
gonna take a quick break real quick, and then we'll be right back. I got some random questions to throw at Bob. All right, we're back. I have just so many random questions to throw at you here.
Yeah.
So Dallas sports media, or not sports media, but just Dallas sports, since you cover it basically all.
Yeah.
Which team is winning the title next? Mavs, Rangers, Stars, Cowboys.
I think the Mavs. Now, I don't know necessarily. We could do an hour on this, which I'm sure nobody wants to hear.
The Rangers just
But
got a good prospect, right?
Rangers just got a couple good prospects, and the Rangers are filling their coffers with prospects, and we'll see about that. The Cowboys are the Cowboys, and while it's not impossible, and in fact, it's not impossible, it could happen in the next 12 months. It's just we've run back the same Cowboys scenarios since I was basically in college, and so let's just say I'll believe it when I see it. And then the Stars, they were in the finals just 2 years ago, so they probably qualify. However, I'm a little cynical about how good they are moving forward. But, just in general, again, if you have one of the 5 best players in a sport that absolutely feeds off having one of the 5 best players, you're in the mix. Now,
Yeah.
how long are you in the mix? How seriously are you in the mix? These are all great questions. But I think Luka has done an unbelievable job of demonstrating he is what they said he was.
Yeah.
And that's I can't think of a bigger compliment. So I hope he takes it as that, even though he'll never hear me say this, most likely. No disrespect to either one of us, but I assume
Yeah.
he's doing something not listening to Mavs podcast right now.
Oh yeah.
But he was really built up at a very, very high level. Like, guys, you're not going to believe this. Europe's never produced a player like this. He's so young. He's his comp is LeBron. Just all these things. And I was very cynical at first, even though I try to be Captain Optimism. When I hear about a guy from over there, it's still this little disconnect. Well, how come he didn't play at Duke? How come he didn't play at Kentucky? He is what they said he was. He's that good. Which is way different than the Giannis story, which the Giannis story, of course, is he's 1,000 times better than they said he was because they didn't know who he was. He was a complete anonymous guy who has somehow gone from these Greek leagues against plumbers to maybe the best player in the world, and it's happened in less than a decade. That's its own goofy scenario. But Luka was sold to us at a very, very high level. And yet he's exceeded every bar. Like, he's that good. And so if you have a guy that good in a game of basketball where it matters, surely the Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout discussion should explain to us that not every sport rewards a superstar being a superstar like basketball does. But basketball does. And so if you get one of these guys, you're in the mix. Now, we just talked about supporting cast means a ton. Complementary pieces, guys stepping up over the course of 2 months. The further you go in the playoffs, the more answers your opponents will have for one guy. That's why you need several guys. It's so, as with all of my answers, Isaac, it's a long one. But I'm going to tell you the Mavericks are the answer.
I like it. Okay, I need you to fill in the blank. You would retire if the Mavs blank.
Is this a Tyler Smith joke? This is probably a Tyler Smith joke. And that's fair. I don't know that anyone knows the Tyler Smith story, but I will tell you that I evaluated the Cowboys' first-round pick, and I evaluated him at a level that said, this dude is not a first-round pick. His tape at Tulsa was what I call, let's let somebody else pick this guy. And so I didn't believe there was any chance they would take him. And so I, like everybody on Twitter, but especially me, you try to write hyperbole hyperbolic hot opinions, get the people going.
Yeah.
And I said, if they take Tyler Smith, I'll just go ahead and retire. And not only did they take Tyler Smith, but the Cowboys made sure that Tyler Smith was on our show the next day at like the first segment. And by the way, unbelievably great kid. If personality makes somebody a great offensive lineman, he's going to be one of the best in the league because his personality is remarkable. But his first thing he said to me was, I didn't think you were going to come into work today. So he's great. And by the way, if there's one thing about this business I don't love, it's the fact that when you have opinions about players, you're actually talking about a guy with like dreams and family and just, I try to never get personal about it, but it's hard to evaluate human beings without saying something mean along the way. And I guess I was a little mean but I was also honest. So I don't know where to draw the line on that, but you feel kind of crappy. Here's a guy who's a good enough player to be an NFL first round pick. And I have the audacity, like who am I? So that's, it's kind of what we do for a living. So I guess I like the paycheck that goes with it. But at the same time, I wish I didn't have to sound so disrespectful to a poor guy who was just a first round pick.
Who's your favorite Mavs?
And I didn't answer your question at all, did I? Not at all. Which is
you're good.
Which is a real trick.
It was fun. Who's your favorite Mavs interview you've done over the years?
Dirk, and I only say that because when Dirk was a rookie, he came on the Bob and Dan show in 1999 or 1999 as a little baby. He came on our show and did 15 minutes with us and was nervous, but then we had him on the next year and the next year, and we had Dirk on our show for every year of his career. And we would do one day, and it was basically called the Dirk Day. So every year we would spend this time talking to Dirk for the time started growing, and we finally got to like an hour with him. And he even brought wine with him and the whole bit, and it was hilarious. And the guy basically did 20 or 21 different interviews with Dan and I. I mean, that's insane. Like he made time for us. And now we never did 2 in a year. Like he's always like, okay, guys, just let me know when the year is or when the Dirk Day is this year. And once or twice they were actually eliminated from the playoffs, and he stuck in town and made sure he did our show. But we have, I want to say most all of them, and they're on the internet somewhere, and they're just some of the most honest and fun. And by the end, like to this day, and this is going to be the biggest brag of this interview, but to this day, he gives me all sorts of crap on Twitter in the DMs about Liverpool and Arsenal. And I'm a Liverpool guy. For a while, he was an Arsenal guy, but I think it's mostly because of which team has a lot of Germans. And so we made a big bet when Liverpool played Bayern Munich in the Champions League a couple years ago. And so I won $100 from him, but I didn't want him to ever pay me. I wanted him to sign a picture to me that says, I still owe you $100 from Dirk. In fact, hold on. You know what I'm going to do? This is an exclusive for Locked On Mavs.
Yes, let's see it. This is incredible.
All right. So let's see. Can you see that?
That's awesome.
See the caption? I owe you a
hundo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Dirk and Bob and Dan. So
well, you just get. Huh? Now everybody knows the tattoo on your arm because you're wearing.
Yeah, now they know that. Yeah, look, he's wearing a Packer shirt. Yep, there it is. So as a special bonus, here you go. Oh, look, I went to the doctor today and I got a shot right on there. So let's prove. Oh, there it is. Oh, in all its glory. Could probably use a touch up after all these years. I think that was like 2005.
Let's say you and Aaron Rodgers both with Tattoos.
Hey, how about it? I think he put a little more work into his. Mine looks a little prisony, but hey, what are you gonna do?
Well, I know we're past time. Man, I was gonna ask you about the moron dog.
We'll save some for next visit.
Yes. We gotta do it again. Bob, I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
for all the work you do on the ticket. 3 to 7. It's each weekday, right?
Yeah, 3 to 7, Monday through Friday, as long as they don't cancel us.
And of course, if you're Cowboys fans listen to this, on The Athletic, you're always writing about the Cowboys. So
Always.
always. But I appreciate it, Bob. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. A pleasure.